Have you ever noticed that some people don't need to say anything to unsettle you inside? They just observe a second, a silence that doesn't fit the atmosphere, a look that pierces your voice before you even speak. And it's in that instant, exactly that instant, that something inside you shrinks without knowing why. It's not fear, it's recognition, the invisible feeling that someone is mapping your mind like opening a box you swore was locked. You've felt this before and never knew how to explain it. But there's an obscure reason behind this feeling, and it's not accidental. It's calculated. And that's why you're here. The silent manipulator doesn't invade. He infiltrates. He doesn't make noise. He manufactures silence. A silence so precise that it makes you fill the gap with what he wants. That's how he first captures your attention, then your energy, and finally, your autonomy. He doesn't need to order anything. He just lets you figure it out on your own. And the most dangerous thing is that when you realize it, you've already stopped acting of your own free will and started acting for psychological comfort, the comfort he controls. And before you think this doesn't happen to you, let me open the first narrative hole, the one I only close later. There's a specific moment, imperceptible even to experienced people, when the silent manipulator identifies your exact vulnerability. And when he finds it, he doesn't touch it, he cultivates it. But I still can't tell you when. This happens. First, you need to understand the trap that prepares the ground. Imagine the first story. A man enters a crowded meeting room. He doesn't speak, doesn't gesture, doesn't smile. He simply sits at the opposite end of the table, crosses his arms, and observes. No one knows who he is. No one knows why he's there. But one by one, everyone adjusts their posture, softens their tone of voice, slows their breathing. They don't feel fear. They feel surveillance. They don't know why. They just know they need to appear right. In less than 5 minutes, that man controls the entire room without uttering a single sound. And the most frightening thing, he knows it. Now, you might think this only works in formal settings, but consider the second story. A woman comes home after a long day. Her partner is sitting on the sofa, quiet, staring at a fixed point on the wall. He doesn't accuse her, doesn't complain, doesn't question. He simply remains there, motionless, a silent mirror of her insecurities. Within 30 seconds, she herself begins to fill the void. What's wrong? Did I do something wrong? Are you upset with me? And the manipulator doesn't need to say anything, because she's already providing everything. He simply observes as she surrenders layer by layer to the guilt he didn't need to solicit. And to close this part, but open another loop, because that's how psychological control is maintained, there's a third story, real, hidden, and deeply disturbing. A manipulator who never raised his voice, never made threats, never changed his tone, and yet he destroyed 3 lives without uttering more than 10 words. But this story will only be revealed at the right time. First, you need to recognize how someone can control you without ever explaining their intentions. And the reason for this is simple. If you understand how silence becomes a weapon, you begin to hear the hidden noise within it. The noise that betrays who is watching you right now. You think you control your own decisions until you realize that someone was already controlling your reactions long before you understood the game. That's how the silent manipulator operates. They don't control what you do, they control how you feel. Before, it's about making decisions, and when you master your feelings, you master your choices. No matter how rational you think you are, every human being has an emotional weak point. They just need to discover it, and they discover it without saying a single word. The biggest illusion most people have is believing that manipulation begins with speech. It doesn't. Manipulation begins in the space between speeches, in the pause, in the microsecond of hesitation you try to disguise, in the way your eyes look away when someone touches on a subject you'd rather avoid, in the smile you force when you shouldn't smile. The silent manipulator doesn't analyze phrases, he analyzes flaws. He observes what you don't realize you're giving away. And here's the part no one is prepared to hear. He doesn't target your weaknesses, he targets your strengths. That's what makes him so dangerous. A manipulator who shouts tries to control your fear. A silent manipulator tries to control your kindness, your empathy, your desire to please, your sense of responsibility, your wish to be understood. He turns the best of you into his weapon, and you never realize it until it's too late. This type of psychological predator acts like a sculptor. He doesn't impose form. He removes everything that prevents the desired form from appearing. He gradually erodes your confidence. He removes your assertiveness. He removes your perceptions. He removes your emotional autonomy, not with force, with absence, with silence, with a gaze that seems neutral but carries calculation, with the calm of someone who knows exactly where he's leading you. And here's another narrative hole I'll leave open, because you need to feel the void to understand the mechanism. There's a specific signal, a single involuntary body movement that the silent manipulator looks for in you. When they see it, they know they have the advantage. But I'm not going to reveal what it is yet. I want you to realize all the times you've unconsciously displayed it, all the situations where you felt someone read you deeply. And now everything starts to make sense. That signal is the key. But the key only works when you understand the lock. Before continuing, you need to visualize an image. Imagine a completely dark room. You are inside. You see nothing, you hear nothing, but you know someone is there. Not because there was a sound, but because there was a lack is. The kind of silence that carries weight. A silence that presses against the air. That's how the silent manipulator presents himself. He doesn't arrive. He settles in. He doesn't knock on the door. He becomes the door. And here comes the second point, the cruelest of all. The more you try to break the silence, the more it traps you. Because while you try to explain, justify, adapt, understand, it gathers information. It puts together every detail to use later. It studies you while you try to defend yourself against something it didn't even accuse you of. It creates guilt where there was none, responsibility where it wasn't yours, and you start reacting to possibilities, not facts. That's why this type of manipulator is so dangerous, and that's why almost no one realizes when they're facing one. But there is a way to detect their presence before they mold you from the inside. An invisible pattern, an almost imperceptible behavior, a psychological trait hidden in their posture and in yours. But that, I'll only reveal it in part 3. The question remains, do you really want to know? There's a moment, almost imperceptible, almost microscopic, when the silent manipulator recognizes your vulnerability. It's not when you vent, it's not when you show weakness, it's before that. It's when you try to appear strong. That's the exact instant they detect the emotional crack they're about to enter, because every human being, when trying to appear unshakable, lets something slip. Tension in the neck, micro-expressions in the eyes, the attempt to control breathing, the artificial fitting of a smile that wasn't genuine. It's at that point that they realize you're not standing firm. You are forcing firmness, and for him, that's a silent invitation. And here's the sign I promised to reveal. The silent manipulator identifies your vulnerability when you try to respond before thinking. That fraction of a second, where your body reacts before your mind, is the greatest psychological marker there is. It's the moment when you say, everything's fine with your voice, but your body says it's not. It's when you say whatever, but your eyes show that it matters. It's when you smile without smiling. And that instant, so quick you don't even notice it, is deciphered by them like an open map. Because the silent manipulator doesn't manipulate words, he manipulates the space between them. And before you find this too abstract, observe the third micro-story I promised, the one I mentioned in the first part. It's not symbolic. It's real, and it reveals how much silence can destroy without ever raising a voice. They were a seemingly perfect couple, He never argued, never demanded anything, never raised his voice. He simply existed. And by existing in absolute silence, he created such an intense, emotional vacuum that she constantly tried to fill it. Each of his silences made her explain herself more. Each neutral look made her try to prove she was enough. Each absence of reaction transformed imaginary mistakes into real guilt. He didn't say, "You were wrong." He let her believe she was wrong. His silence shaped her behavior to the point where all she did was try not to disappoint him, even without knowing it, as someone can disappoint someone who never says anything. When the relationship ended, and it ended abruptly, she realized she hadn't just lost a partner, she'd lost her sense of self. Because without realizing it, she had calibrated her entire emotional identity to try and fill an echo. And that echo belonged to him. His absence was her prison, and she only understood this when it was too late. This story isn't about love, it's about control, silent control. Control that doesn't accuse, doesn't confront, doesn't demand. Control that watches while you implode alone. And this type of psychological predator understands a truth that few people see. When you try to justify something that no one asked you to justify, you hand your mind over on a silver platter. Now here's another gap I'm going to open, one I'll only reveal much later. There's a behavioral pattern that makes some people naturally more vulnerable to the silent manipulator, a personality trait that seems like a virtue but acts as a wide-open door. I'll explain this in the right section. First, you need to understand how this manipulator creates the perfect environment for you to offer them everything they need without them asking for anything. Imagine you're talking to someone and suddenly they become quiet, not irritated, not distant, just quiet. You ask if everything is all right. They reply with a "I'm fine," but with an energy that doesn't match the phrase. So you persist. They continue to speak little. You try to explain something no one asked for. You try to fill a space that shouldn't exist. You try to adjust to what you don't know, and little by little, you begin to act according to the expectation you believe they have, even if they never said a single word. That's the trick. The silent manipulator doesn't manipulate through what they say. They manipulate through what they let you imagine. And now that you've begun to see the mechanism at work, the only thing left to understand is the darkest part. The silent manipulator doesn't seek chaos. He seeks predictability. His ultimate goal is simple: to make you anticipate, to mold yourself before he asks, to blame yourself before he points it out, to surrender before he touches you. And when he reaches that level, he no longer needs to manipulate you. You do it yourself. But that's not the worst part. There's an even deeper layer, the layer where he makes you believe that he's the only person who truly understands you. And when that happens, the game changes completely. The silent manipulator knows that the greatest power lies not in controlling your thoughts, but in controlling what you believe you are thinking on your own. He never takes the emotional lead. He lets you do that for him. And here's the trick that almost no one notices. He positions himself as the only safe haven while, little by little, stealing your ability to navigate. He creates the storm and then offers himself as shelter. This type of manipulator doesn't appear as a threat. He appears as understanding. He observes every detail of your behavior. How you speak quickly when you're nervous, how you repeat phrases when you're afraid of not being understood, how you try to explain feelings that don't even need explaining. He never says, "You're wrong." He simply remains silent. And in that silence, your mind starts racing, stumbling, inventing justifications, filling in gaps. You try to adjust to what you believe he expects, because his silence puts you in emotional debt, a debt you never incurred, but that you suddenly feel you need to repay. And here's another uncomfortable truth. The silent manipulator makes you trust him before you realize he's molding you. He doesn't win your trust through force, but through the absence of conflict. He makes you believe you're being accepted exactly as you are, but he's not accepting you. He's studying you, every detail, every weakness, every poorly protected virtue. He uses your natural need for connection to create dependency, and silent dependency is the most efficient form of control. Because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like affection. It feels like calm. It feels like relief, but it's not. It's emotional surveillance. Now, pay attention to a pattern that few recognize. When you share something vulnerable, something intimate, he never reacts immediately. He leaves a pause that makes you doubt whether you should have said so much. A pause that puts you in an inferior position because you exposed a lot and received little in return. This asymmetry creates an invisible hierarchy, and without realizing it, you begin to recalibrate what you consider acceptable to share. You think you are protecting your vulnerability, but in reality, you are only hiding it from yourself. He has already seen it. He has already analyzed it. He has already understood it. And this is where the first of the 5 subtle psychological signs of the silent manipulator appears. The sign that almost no one notices. He never rushes to answer. He watches you fill the time, fill the space, fill the silence, because silence is his laboratory. And the more you talk, the more raw material he has to mold your mind. But I'm not going to list the other signs yet. Not yet. You need to feel the unease, the restlessness, the need to understand the next step. That's how your mind begins to perceive in practice how the silent manipulator works. He creates the thirst and then offers the water. I'm going to do the same. We're only scratching the surface of the mechanism. Before moving on to the next point, you need to visualize something. Imagine a completely white room. Nothing there has texture, nothing has shadows, nothing has any reference point. You are in the center. There are no noises, objects, or stimuli, just an absolutely neutral space. Now imagine that in the background there is someone standing still, expressionless, without movement, without speech. You don't know if they are thinking, judging, ignoring, or analyzing. And it is this neutrality that destroys, because faced with emotional emptiness, human beings create their own explanations. They invent meanings. And when you try to interpret silence, you surrender your mind to your own fear. This is how the silent manipulator controls you. He doesn't invade. He makes you open the door yourself. But there's an even deeper detail. This type of manipulator only works because they understand something you've never realized about yourself. Something I'll turn into a weapon in your favor in the following sections. Something that will allow you to become impenetrable and turn the tables before they even realize it. And that I'll only reveal when we reach the right point in the narrative. Now that you understand the logic of the silent manipulator, it's time to see what almost no one sees, the 5 subtle psychological signs that betray their presence. They don't appear in phrases, they don't appear in obvious attitudes, they appear in what's left over, in what's missing, in what you feel but can't name. And each of these signs is a thread pulled from your mind until you begin to unravel without realizing it. You've already seen the first sign. He responds too slowly. Not out of laziness, not out of calmness, but out of calculation. The time you spend contorting yourself trying to interpret his silence is the fuel for his control. He knows that a human being faced with an emotional void fills it with anxiety, guilt, or justification. And that's why he never fills it. He lets you do it yourself. But the second sign is even more dangerous. He observes more than he reacts. Notice this. Ordinary people react naturally. They express surprise, joy, irritation, curiosity. The silent manipulator does not. He observes like a researcher observes an experiment. He is not interested in what you say, but in your micro-expressions. He doesn't want to understand what you say. He wants to understand how you react to what he thinks he thinks. He reads you like someone taking apart a watch, piece by piece, without haste, without emotion. The third sign is the most uncomfortable. He creates expectations without articulating them. This means he never says what he wants. He never says what he expects. He never makes clear what he considers right or wrong. He leaves you to guess. And the more you try to guess, the more you condition yourself. He trains your mind like one trains an animal, rewarding silence with silence and punishing uncertainty with more silence. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He lets you wrestle with your own echo. And the fourth sign, the most insidious, is almost invisible. He watches you when you're not looking. He pays attention to the exact moment you let your guard down. The instant your spine loses tension, when you take a deep breath thinking no one notices. That's when he gathers the most valuable information, who you are when you think you're not being watched, because it's in that state that your authenticity slips away. And authenticity is the raw material for those who control minds. But the fifth sign, that's what turns everything into real danger. He creates a sense of emotional debt without ever asking for anything. You feel you need to please him. You need to be understood by him. You need to maintain the image you believe he has built of you. And even without him asking, you begin to mold yourself. You begin to avoid conflict. You begin to measure your words. You begin to police yourself, the silent. Manipulator controls you because of a debt that doesn't exist, but that you feel. And before you find all of this too frightening, I need to open another loop, one of the most important so far. There is an emotional pattern that the silent manipulator follows, or find it. A specific type of person, with a psychological trait as valuable to them as an unlocked door. And this characteristic is not fragility, it's not low self-esteem, it's not insecurity, it's something much deeper and much rarer. You'll discover this soon, but now that you know the signs, you still need to understand the invisible mechanism that connects them all. The silent manipulator creates an emotional universe where you become the narrator, the executor, and the jailer of yourself. He only observes, he only exists, and you reorganize yourself around that existence. But there is a way out, a Machiavellian defense, a way to transform his silence into weakness, not strength. And this turning point begins precisely in the next part. Now that you recognize the signs, it's time to make the move that almost no one makes. Invert the psychological axis. Because the silent manipulator only has power as long as you react to their silence. From the moment you respond differently than expected, their system collapses. And that's exactly what we're going to explore now. The Machiavellian tools of defense, cold, intelligent and surgical strategies based not on force, but on perception. The first defense is simple, but fatal. Don't fill his silence. The silent manipulator expects you to do this. He uses your discomfort as a tool. He wants you to explain, justify yourself, anticipate, confess, interpret, offer, compose. He wants you to work emotionally while he observes you. When you don't comply, his mind loses ground. He has no material to mold you with. He depends on your words to build the map. When you are silent, you disarm him. His silence loses its function when it encounters yours. The second defense is more profound. Observe the observer. The silent manipulator is used to analyzing without being analyzed. He doesn't know how to deal with someone who is also observing. When you notice the pattern, the neutrality, the delay, the calculated gaze, and internally name it, you break the hypnosis. Machiavelli said that one does not fear what one understands. And that's true. When you see the mechanism, it ceases to be invisible. And the silent manipulator is only powerful because he is invisible. The third defense is strategic. Don't try to please him. He creates a sense of emotional debt precisely to make you adapt. The trick is to notice when your mind is trying to anticipate what he wants and block that attempt. Don't give unsolicited explanations. Don't offer internal justifications. Don't adjust your tone to sound more agreeable. The silent manipulator isn't looking for your sympathy, but for your predictability. By breaking that pattern, you become impossible to manipulate. The fourth defense is Machiavellian. Respond with surgical precision. Nothing beyond what's necessary. Nothing beyond the objective. He expects you to elaborate because the more you talk, the more he gathers. Answer only what was asked. Short answers, Clear, cold, elegant. When you do this, you take away his emotional ground. He loses control of the internal narrative. He loses the power to lead you. You force him to act, and silent manipulators hate acting. They lose their comfort zone. The fifth defense is the most powerful. Don't try to interpret his silence. The silent manipulator thrives on your interpretation. He suggests absence so that you create presence. He suggests neutrality so that you invent threats. He suggests calm so that you imagine recriminations. When you stop interpreting, he loses his main weapon. His silence ceases to be psychological territory and becomes just silence again. Now, here's one of the most important loops I'm going to open, one I'll only close in the final moments. Of this script, there's a technique, a kind of inverted force, that makes the silent manipulator give up trying to control you. It's not confrontation, it's not distancing, it's not explaining, it's something much more subtle, an internal posture that destroys their power without you having to lift a finger. I'll show you this soon. But before revealing this technique, you need to understand something that will be the foundation of your unbreakable aura. Silent manipulators don't want strong people, they want predictable people. Predictability is born from fear, from discomfort, from the need for approval, from a feeling of emotional debt. When you remove these elements, you become opaque. And being opaque is the most advanced form of psychological defense. Now that you've started touching on this point, we're ready to get into the part where the game really changes. Have you noticed that, up until now, everything has revolved around understanding the silent manipulator? But understanding isn't enough. The real breaking point happens when you transform into what he can never control. Someone who doesn't react, someone who chooses. Reaction is submission, choice is power, and the silent manipulator only controls those who react. When you stop reacting, you become invisible to his game, and invisibility here isn't hiding, it's a weapon. An unbreakable aura begins with a simple yet devastating principle. You don't need to be emotionally tough, you need to be emotionally unreadable. The silent manipulator can mold you because they understand your patterns. When you try to please, when you blame yourself, when you defend yourself, when you justify yourself, when you try to prove something, they read these routes like maps. Their unbreakable aura emerges when you eliminate the map, when you become a surface devoid of emotional texture. And here is the most Machiavellian move of all. Do not offer predictable reactions. If someone expects silence, you offer clarity. If someone expects submission, you offer neutrality. If someone expects explanations, you offer boundaries. When the silent manipulator tries to provoke discomfort, you don't play the game. You don't try to solve. You don't try to interpret. You don't try to fill a void. You simply exist in the same way they exist, but without allowing them to penetrate your structure. Imagine an extremely sharp blade. It doesn't need to move to cut. It cuts because it is pure intention in a solid state. The unbreakable aura works like that. It's not aggressive, it's not defensive, it's simply there. And its presence forces the manipulator to retreat because he finds no openings, he finds no cracks, he finds no entry points. And here comes one of the most lethal tools, the inverted silent observation. The silent manipulator observes you to understand how to dismantle you. The unbreakable aura does the opposite. You observe to understand how they try to dismantle you. You see the strategy before. It's completed. You perceive the pattern while they try to assemble it. You don't react, you register. This posture destroys the manipulator without you needing to touch them. But the most powerful point is yet to come. Unwavering neutrality. Don't confuse this with artificial coldness. Neutrality isn't about appearing distant. It's about not allowing his behavior to create ripples within you. When the silent manipulator tries to trap you in the psychological labyrinth of tell me more, explain better, prove that everything is all right, you don't go in. You don't take the blame, you don't try to decipher, you simply neutralize. Simple phrases, direct, short, without embedded anxiety. He can't control someone whose mind isn't spinning trying to resolve his silence. And then there's the technique I mentioned before, the one that makes the silent manipulator give up. One of the most elegant and perverse that exists, the reversal of emotional vigilance. When he realizes that you're not affected by his silence, but that he is affected by yours, everything changes. He sees himself in the mirror he used to use against you. He feels the discomfort he used to plant in you. He doesn't know how to deal with this reflection. Silent manipulators are predators who never learn to tolerate their own echo. Now see what happens. He tries to provoke a reaction. He tries to test you. He tries to reinstate the pattern, but you don't react. Your mind is firm. Your posture is firm. Your neutrality is firm. And for the first time, he realizes he doesn't have access, and silent manipulators always abandon what they can't control. Always. But listen up. Before we reveal the next step, the psychological counterattack, you need to understand a detail that many ignore. The unbreakable aura isn't built for fighting. It's built so you never have to fight. It transforms you into forbidden territory. And it's precisely in the next part that you'll learn how to definitively turn the tables. Not just defend yourself, but make the silent manipulator give up before even trying. At this point, the silent manipulator believes he still has some advantage. He trusts in method, in predictability, in human nature that always tries to fill voids. He bets that you will continue doing the emotional work for him, but he doesn't know that something has changed. He doesn't realize yet that you've stopped being prey and have started operating on the same level as him, only with awareness. And awareness is what transforms defense into attack. The psychological counterattack begins when you do what he least expects. It breaks the emotional cycle without breaking the relationship. Does he expect confrontation? You offer neutrality. Does he expect anxiety? You offer precision. Does he expect explanations? You offer strategic silence. Does he expect submission? You offer presence. The counterattack is not made of noise. It is made of calculated absence. He tries to lead. You don't follow. He tries to provoke. You don't react. He tries to mold. You remain. And this destroys him more deeply than any aggressive confrontation could. The first blow of the counterattack is this: respond to his behavior as if it were irrelevant, not as if it were a threat, not as if it were a game, as if it were nothing. When the silent manipulator realizes that their silence doesn't unsettle you, doesn't destabilize you, doesn't put you on alert, they lose emotional control. They need you to see them as a figure of power. When you act as if their emotional presence is just another element of the environment, their structure begins to crumble. The second scam is even more sophisticated. Ask direct questions when he tries to be vague. No emotional questions, objective questions. Do you want to talk about it? Is there something I need to know? Is everything all right on your end? These questions completely disarm the silent manipulator because they depend on what is left unsaid. When you demand definition, they lose the fog in which they hide. They are forced to exist clearly, and silent manipulators hate clarity. Clarity is light. Light reveals structure. Structure exposes intention. The third blow is Machiavellian and devastating. Let his silence fall upon himself. Does he try to destabilize you with his absence? Let that absence backfire on him. Does he try to pressure you with neutrality? Let his neutrality beat back at him. Does he try to make you guess? Don't guess. Does he try to make you react? Don't react. Does he try to lead you? Stand still. His absence becomes his prison. For the first time, he tastes his own poison. The fourth blow is the most lethal. Make him realize that you're analyzing him too. You don't need to say it. Your posture conveys it. Your calmness conveys it. Your precision conveys it. Your stability conveys it. When he realizes he's being observed at the same level he observes, everything changes. Silent predators rely on the advantage of one-sided reading. When the gaze returns, they lose their hierarchy. Without hierarchy, there is no control. Without control, there is no manipulation. And then comes the final blow, the cruelest, the most subtle, the most Machiavellian. Make him wonder if he still has power over you. This doubt is a blade in his mind. He feels the absence of an answer. He feels the collapse of the psychological echo. He feels that he no longer penetrates. He feels his neutrality as a wall. And silent manipulators don't try to tear down walls. They run from them because their silence only works on open minds. On solid minds, it becomes just silence. Now pay attention, that's not the plot twist. Not yet. We're just stretching the tension to the exact point where the revelation hurts. Not you, but him. The plot twist begins in the next part, when you discover that the silent manipulator only wins the game because you believed a fundamental lie about yourself. And when that lie falls apart, the game changes forever. You spent the entire video believing that the silent manipulator controls you because he's brilliant, calculating, sophisticated, almost supernatural. You believed his power lay in silence, observation, and strategic coldness. But all of that is just surface. All of that is just technique. All of that is a tool. The plot twist is that he was never the problem. The real problem has always been you. Try you. Not because you are weak, much less because you are naive, but because you possess an extremely rare psychological trait. And it is precisely this trait that makes you a target for silent manipulators. Something you always thought was a virtue, something you always believed was strength, something you valued throughout your entire life, without realizing that this is what opens the door to silent predators. Here's the truth that no one has ever told you. You are emotionally sophisticated, and that makes you vulnerable. You feel more, perceive more, interpret more, absorb more. You pick up on micro-expressions, tones of voice, subtle variations in behavior that most people don't even notice. You are sensitive to emotional atmospheres. You see nuances. You understand subtext. And above all, you try to maintain harmony around you. This sensitivity, this radar, is its greatest strength, but it is also its greatest vulnerability. The silent manipulator chooses you not because you are weak, but because you seize too much, because you want to understand, because you want to resolve, because you want to maintain the connection, because you try to interpret the unspoken, you try to make sense of the silence, you try to avoid conflict, and this makes you fill spaces you shouldn't fill. You end up doing the emotional labor before anyone even asks. That's the plot twist. He's not the one controlling you. You are the one who provides him with the tools so that he can take control. And before this hits you too hard, understand what this means. The silent manipulator never had any real power. He had the power from the start. He simply learned to use his emotional depth against you. Your sensitivity has exposed you, but it also sets you free. Because the moment you see the source of the vulnerability, it ceases to exist. You thought you needed to be tougher. It's colder, more closed off. But no, you just needed to be less predictable in how you offer your empathy. Empathy is not weakness. Empathy without borders is, and now that you've seen this clearly, something changes inside you. A door that was once open is now closing. A space that previously needed to be filled no longer exists. The psychological dependence that the silent manipulator tried to create evaporates, because you finally understood what Machiavelli really meant when he wrote that men are governed more by appearances than by reality. It appeared as if the person was in control. The reality is that you have always been the most powerful element on the bored. And now that you know you were never at a disadvantage, now you understand the true risk for the silent manipulator. You, when awake, are more dangerous than him when silent. But there's still one last piece missing, one final revelation, the phrase that closes this video, and it opens the door to something much bigger. Now that you've seen the whole game from the inside, you realize something that changes everything. The silent manipulator never had a real advantage over you. He Hides in silence because he's afraid of the impact your true presence might have. He watches you because he knows that if you watch back, he'll fall apart. He tries to mold you because he feels that if you embrace your own form, nothing can bend you. He studies you because deep down, he knows you're the only person capable of seeing what others ignore. And that's precisely what he fears most. You are not a victim, you are a mirror. And mirrors are the downfall of silent predators. Understand what has happened since the beginning. He tried to use your sensitivity against you. He tried to transform his emotional depth into weakness. He tried to make you wait for approval. He tried to train you to fill in the gaps. He tried to make you think you needed him so you wouldn't lose control. But now you know, the only reason why silent manipulators exist, it's because they encounter people who haven't yet realized their own strength. And when you finally realize it, you transform into what he never knew how to face. A mind that is not shaken, a posture that doesn't bend, a presence that cannot be read. An unbreakable aura is not armor, it's awareness. And awareness turns any attempt at manipulation into dust. Now every silence he speaks is turning against him. Every pause turns into failure. Every attempt to make you guess becomes a contradiction. He's watching you without realizing that for the first time, you're the one watching him. Not as prey, but as a psychological predator. And that's when the game ends. Not because you won, but why did he give up? But there's something you still don't understand. Something that expands on all of this. Something that shows that the silent manipulator, it's not the most dangerous type that exists. He's merely the gateway. There is a second type, much more sophisticated, much more destructive, much more invisible. And this type, don't use silence. He uses something else, something you've already felt. And in the next video, you'll finally recognize it, because some manipulators can't control you in silence. They control you in the sound of her own voice. And when you find that out, the game changes again.